2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn dope into DFS pros.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is your DFS Army Daily Dispatch brought to you by DFSArmy.com, and I am your host today, BoomersDaddy, and a long-awaited absence. Joining me again from, my goodness, where were you this time? Phoenix, the land down under, Australia, England. I mean, man, Bear, it's good to have you back, brother.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I've said this a couple times, and then we'll get into it, but I hate talking to myself. I do it most of the day anyways, because I, react, to what's going on in our chat and stuff. So, all of a sudden, you'll just hear me, just be like, are you kidding me? But to talk to myself and have a normal conversation is not something that is very fun, and I don't like doing it often. So...
I understand. I mean, you and I are both married, so we're kind of used to talking to ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, the crazy comes out when you're married. I love you, Heather, but it does come out.
Indeed.
So, not only that, but I had a sick kid, and now I've got a sick wife who's trying to tough it out at work. So, hopefully those sicknesses don't come back on, the man, the myth, the legend. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get after it today. We got 9 games, got a lot to hit up on, a lot to talk about. So let's start it off at the point guard position. Russell Westbrook goes to Denver, and I would say just from history, he kind of likes playing up there.
I mean, obviously but I think there's some pretty serious history there. I think there's been some mascot wars.
Yeah, the trolling comes out with Rocky when it comes to Russell Westbrook. He makes no secrets about that.
Indeed. And I know it's not like anything to the level of, a guy playing his old team or anything like that, but Russ gets up for this stuff, man. He just does. He just loves this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is what happens when you try to get under Russ's skin. I just want to throw out his last. These are in order of DraftKings points. Of course, when they played in OKC, he had a 51.5. But in Denver, the last time they played, 69.8 against Denver, 65.3, 72.3. He's hit 280s and a 90, 180 in Denver, and the 93, his career high against Denver, was in Denver. So let's see here. He has no problems playing in the altitude, ladies and gentlemen. I know altitude's a big thing, especially after last night. We've got another Mexico game coming up, Sunday, I believe. He likes playing against the Denver Nuggets. So I looked on StatMuse here, and when 72 and 73 and 69 look small, then he's done some damage there. So,
right, yeah, and I also think given there's a bit of a perception thing here, and the perception is, and some of it is true, but the perception is, the Thunder are a better team than they were last year. They've got more around them. They've got more to pass to. They've got Paul George. They've got Dennis Schroeder. They've always had Steven Adams. But and we can talk about the rest of their roster, but they don't need 100% Russ 100% of the time. And that's kind of what the team is still doing well. He's still doing really well. I mean, they're at the top of the standings, right? Or top half of the standings.
Yeah, they're the 2 seed right now.
And so, which is great for them as a team, but we're a DFS site, right? We're DFS players, and there is some merit to say, well, when you've got a guy who's at 11K, he was at like 12K, 11.7, you kind of want him to be in a scenario where he's kind of the all, reliant, so to speak, right? The team relies just on him. And I don't think the Thunder are there this season. I don't think they need all, Russ to do absolutely everything because they're playing very well. Now, having said that, that's been a perception that has been there, I would say, for the last maybe 2 weeks, because we haven't really seen like a 70-point Russell game. And so in fairness, we've heard it, but it's the truth. And then, having said that, I think you're probably going to get a single-digit owned Russ in an up-tempo game in what's projected and slated to be a really tight game. I mean, these are the 2 top teams in the West right now. I mean, obviously you've got the Warriors are always going to be there, but these are 2 of the top 5 teams, top 3 teams, top 4 teams, and what does that over/under look like? It's actually not as high as I would have expected. It's looking at about 218.5 right now. But it's a 1.5 point spread. It's the tightest spread we have on the slate. And so you're going to get 4 quarters of Russ. I'll tell you that much. And he's probably going to have Jamal Murray on him a lot, which is somebody I tend to pick on. So lots to like there, lots to look at.
Yeah, it's, I mean, he doesn't need to score 30 points and have a triple-double. He's, and can I say this? I just want to say this. If you're tilting Russell Westbrook in the first half, you need to reevaluate something. Like, I'm just serious. Like, he had, 6 points in the first half, and he finished with 49. 49. Like, the dude does so much. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's, single digits. He's a perfect tournament play. So, all right, let's talk about the next guy on my list here, Steph Curry. Going up against Sacramento. You want to talk about 2 teams that don't like each other? It's funny because, like, you would not think that there would be some sort of bickering between the Kings and the Warriors. They've been opposite ends of the spectrum of the Western Conference for the last, 5 years now? Maybe longer. But there's a little bit of beef here. The Kings surprisingly usually play the Warriors pretty close most of the time. At least for most of the game anyways. But in my opinion, the reason why I don't like John Wall as much, the reason why I don't like Ben Simmons as much is because Steph is cheaper than both of them.
Yeah.
At least on FanDuel at 9,400 after coming off of a crap game. Yeah, I think I'm going to be buying a lot of Steph Curry tonight.
Hard to disagree, man. I mean, I'm in the same boat there. I think that because of last season, how poor De'Aaron Fox was defensively, I don't think people realize how much he's improved on that end. So my point in that, and not to say don't play Steph. I mean, Steph is going to do what he does regardless. But I don't want everyone to thinking that it's Shaq, it's a cakewalk. It's not. The team's playing well. The team's winning games. The team is defending well in certain parts of the floor, not everywhere. They're playing at a fast pace. This is probably my favorite game of the night to attack. I mean, these 2 teams play, first of all, besides playing high-quality basketball, I think the Warriors have fallen off a little bit defensively, which is why they're not, like 25-0, like we're so used to them being. Obviously, injuries played a big role in that, but they're just not the same on defense, and I think they realize that. And so for me to go with these Sacramento guards, and you've got Fox, and you've got Hield, and you've got Bogdanovich, and you've got Schumpert, and I'm not saying play all those guys, that would be crazy, but I'm saying I don't mind picking two of them, and then even going for like Steph and Durant on the back end, and just stacking that game that way. I think this game is going to be really DFS gold. If you're playing on any of the sites, DraftKings or Fantasy Draft or any of those sites that give you extra points for 3-pointers, this is the game.
Yeah, it is. There's another one I like a little bit better as far as 3-pointers is concerned, but this is definitely a good one. The only thing I can say about the 3-pointers is both of these teams are in the top 10 as far as opponent 3-point shooting percentage allowed. I'm trying to say that 10 times fast. And that's actually really shocking considering that, last season the Kings were actually one of the worst teams in the NBA about allowing the opponent 3. So they've made a huge jump here. It's 4 percentage points, 4 full percentage points. But they did get lit up against in their last game. So not really kind of worried about it. I think it's more of an opponent type thing right now. But just to be aware, I don't want anybody, having some shade thrown at any of my staff just because of the fact that we said that, threes were going to rain down and, it didn't end up happening. So you are aware. Ben Simmons against the Indiana Pacers. Interested?
So yes and no. So, and I hate to give you that answer, but the reality is it's going to depend on Jimmy Butler, and so I think
Ding, ding, ding.
I think if Jimmy Butler sits, I think a lot of the Steph owners are going to run to Ben. If he sits, and then I think if he comes in, then a lot of Simmons owners are going to go over to Steph, or even Kemba in that same price range. So, or Wall, right? They're all 95, 94. So the 100, I mean, it's right there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that scenario. I think if he does sit, if Butler does sit, you just play Simmons in cash and move on. You could probably play him in tournaments too. I mean, he's got the upside. We know that. But I don't know that I want to play him over Steph. I'm with you on this. I really like Steph.
Yeah. If you gave me which one, I'll take a Steph that's come off of a bad game over a Ben Simmons, no matter what the situation is, at the same price point. Now, on DK, it's a little bit more of a question because Ben Simmons is 8,700. I think if I'm going to get any of my Ben Simmons exposure, it's probably going to be over there. Kemba Walker. Oh, sorry. Let's talk about John Wall real quick.
Okay.
John Wall came back. I was not on the other day. Had a bone spur in his heel or whatever. Ended up playing 40 minutes against Boston. We don't typically attack Boston in the backcourt. Really, honestly, we don't really attack them completely at all. But especially in the backcourt, it was kind of a situation where Kyrie was on him most of the time. They didn't really switch off of him. It was not something that I was really expecting. I expected him to see a lot of Marcus Smart, but as soon as Jaylen Brown was announced out, kind of figured that Smart would be planted on Beal and didn't really think about the John Wall scenario. One, because he had the heel spur or bone spur in his heel, and I don't like messing with that. Like, that's just not something that seems like you can play basketball effectively on. He did have a good game, but also remember that a lot of it, there was a ton of it that came in overtime. It was kind of the John Wall Kyrie show, the last minute of regulation and most of the overtime period. So, I mean, that's his ceiling game, guys. We've talked about it all year long. John Wall is a good 50 to 55 point guy. He's okay for cash games and stuff, but I mean, I've got ceiling guys on the slate today in Steph and Russ, a cheaper Kyrie. I've got ceiling guys that I can go get today. I don't need to spend 9,400 on John Wall.
Yeah.
I don't care. And it's against Brooklyn, but I think I'll fade that and the ownership tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much on the same path there. I mean, I might, if I'm playing multiple lineups, I'll have some exposure because like you said, because it is Brooklyn. But at the same time, I also like some other less expensive spots, not just from the Wizards, but from this game as a whole on both sides that we can get our exposure to. Because I mean, one thing about these two teams, this is a defensive-less game. I mean, these guys don't play defense, and so you're going to have a lot of points scored with not very much defense, and it's looking like Brooklyn is favored here by a couple points.
Yep, I would agree with you. All right, Kemba Walker going up against the New York Knickerbockers in actually it's in Charlotte now. He's 9,500. I'm kind of along the same lines here with Kemba, and the reason why is because of the price, and because okay, so the last two games he shot 20 and 25 times, which is great. And if he's going to shoot that many times, then, he could definitely hit that 55 to 60 point mark. But the trend is like, 12, 19, 17, 16. Like the 20 to 25s were great at the beginning of the year, and they're great now. But now with the price bump, I just don't see them needing him to shoot that many times tonight.
A couple things. First of all, he's going to have most of the night Emmanuel Mudiay. Second of all, or I shouldn't say most of the night, to start the game. The Knicks are now banged up. They've got a few more guys that are out. Dotson's going to be out. Trier's still out. We know Burke is still out. Guess who's going to be inserted into the starting line? Well, maybe not the starting lineup, but into the rotation.
There's two guys.
There's one that in particular that I am kind of concerned for Kemba because of.
Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah. He's been patiently waiting his turn. And, I know I haven't been on the podcast for about a week, but one of the things we talked about in one of the earlier podcasts, maybe a week or two ago, was the way that these Knicks are going through their evaluation of the roster. And they're going to give you 5, 6, 7 games in the rotation to see what you can do. And you've got to stay ready because your time will be called. And so that's basically where I believe, not so much because his time has come, but because of injuries, but whatever the reasoning might be, insert Frank Ntilikina. And he knows that this is my shot. And if he can go out there and if he can defend Kemba Walker and if he can take the ball out of his hands, he knows Fizdale is going to praise him for that.
Yep.
And so, I'm not a fan of Frank myself as high of a pick as he was. But if one thing he does really, and he's still young, I mean, he still has a ways to go, but if one thing the guy does well at this level is defend. That's like, you can't take that away from him. He will lock you down. Now, if he's a liability on the other end, that's an issue. And at the NBA level,
he hasn't been the last two games. He's been really aggressive after coming back from the benching, and been earning more minutes, been earning more playing time. So, I just want to go ahead and give you this real quick. Colin Sexton, who everybody was kind of all over on Wednesday, going against the Knicks, played 25 minutes, only scored, 19 total points, like 23.75 fantasy points, okay? Jordan Clarkson, who also runs some of the one, played 35 minutes, went 2 of 7 from the field, but did 12 of 21, but did a lot of his damage against Emmanuel Mudiay. and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dotson. Alec Burks went 0 of 6 from the field. Okay, he saw some Ntilikina. So when we're talking about guys that can lock down their guy one-on-one defensively, Ntilikina, for all of his faults on the offensive end, being passive aggressive, not being a great ball handler, stuff like that, he's a lockdown defender on the defensive end. And it's really, really intriguing to kind of see exactly, because they kept interviewing Ntilikina every single time he got a DNP-CD.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just got to trust the process, and I've got to, I'm not happy about it, and, it's kind of pissing me off, but, I'm doing what's best for the team. So he was saying all the right things, but you could tell that there was a fire in him to get back out on the court. Like, this is a guy that was basically picked ahead of Dennis Smith Jr. You don't think like he, getting benched for 4 or 5 games isn't going to get under some of these guys? Especially
Absolutely.
A guy that's trying to prove himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not feeling a overpriced Kemba Walker today.
Yeah.
So that was a good pull. All right, let's go. I want to talk about a weird situation here because it's a ping pong that I'm interested in, but only if certain things happen. Okay, Damian Lillard, Kyle Lowry. I'm interested in this ping pong, one, because I always have interest in Dame at home. 2, because they're both, relatively cheap.
Yeah.
But
Bledsoe or Lowry is really cheap.
Yeah, especially, if Kawhi's out. I would rather than price him up, because now if we get early word that Kawhi's going to be out, Lowry becomes almost instant shock.
Mm-hmm.
That's the situation. Is like, I have interest in these guys if Kawhi is out, in both of them, and I don't have interest in either one of them except for maybe Dame in some tournaments if Kawhi is in. And you're probably asking yourself, why do you have interest in? Why does it matter about Kawhi Lowry in your interest in Damian Lillard? Well, one, because he makes that defense a lot better. It allows Danny Green to be able to switch between the 1 and the 2. It allows Kyle Lowry to kind of be hidden a little bit more on defense. And it makes their whole defensive scheme a lot better when Kawhi's on the court. And that concerns me a little bit. Like, I kind of want early Kawhi news. I kind of don't.
I don't think we're going to get it. I think it's going to be another situation just like the last slate, if you recall, where, game time decision, and then, 30 minutes before a game, he was out. But we all kind of knew he was out, and we all kind of said, guys, he's not going to play. I'm kind of expecting the same. Like, I think if he's going to play, we'll hear early. If we don't hear, I'm not expecting him to play. And just to your point about how does Kawhi really affect Dame and Lowry, well, you go from Kawhi Leonard to Fred VanVleet, right? Nothing away from VanVleet. He's a solid player, but Kawhi's a top 3 player on defense, if not higher than that even. So, yeah, I agree with you there. I also think that, depending on how the game goes, but if Lillard starts going nuts and Kawhi's in the game, you might see some Kawhi on Lillard.
Yep.
He's done that before. So, yeah, a lot of that's going to be dependent on the news. Now, they're playing in Portland, so that's going to be a later game. So, the Hammer game, actually. So, I don't expect to hear anything official. So, if we don't hear anything before lock and, you want to play any of those guys, I would kind of just reserve them for tournaments. And, I wouldn't put them on your cash build. You could probably still play Dame if you wanted to, but I don't know. I still prefer playing Steph.
Yep. All right, we're not going to talk about Kyrie, obviously, because he's going up against Atlanta. He's a good play. Nobody needs to go over that. Eric Bledsoe versus Cleveland. He's in play tonight. I think De'Aaron Fox versus Golden State.
Love that, man.
Okay.
Love that.
I'll see De'Aaron Fox, and I'll raise you a Spencer Dinwiddie fresh off of a $34 million contract signing.
Yeah. I mean, fresh off of a career high, too, the night before?
Oh, yeah, dude. He's taken that starting – he's moved Russell basically to the 2, taken that starting point guard job and rolled.
Yeah. So I like the price, obviously. 6,600 for his upside is great. That matchup is great. The thing about Dinwiddie, though, is you're going to need him to be aggressive. You're going to need him to be hot to kind of reach that number again. I don't hate it because, again, I think versus Washington, this is exactly where you want to play Dinwiddie. Now, you might get a little sneaky and go to the shooting guard and play some D'Angelo Russell because I think he's going to have one of his big games here soon. He hasn't, and he doesn't stay quiet for long. So, I wouldn't play both, but I'm definitely going to be playing a lot of one or the other.
Yeah, he hasn't gone off in a couple games, and that was actually against Toronto, which was kind of shocking, honestly.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't mind that either. And it's one of those guys, or it's one of those things, guys, where like he said, they're kind of negatively correlated. I absolutely would not play them in the same lineup. So, anything down here at the bottom that you like? I got maybe some Terry Rozier. They priced him down. Fanduel bid, but I don't know. This feels like kind of a mid-tier to upper echelon point guard day for me.
Yeah, so I talked about Ntilikina. I don't mind taking a couple shots at Ntilikina. I don't mind taking a couple shots at Emmanuel Mudiay.
Ntilikina's 3,600 on DraftKings and a 3,900 on FanDuel, so he's a perfect drop score candidate. Like I said, he's been aggressive and actually performed pretty well the last couple games. So if he keeps that up against Kemba, then he could definitely end up becoming one of your non-drop scores pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like that. Nice pull. Writing that down right now. Frankie.
Nilly.
Drop. Okay. Yes, I do take notes from Bear. So, if Kawhi's out, Fred VanVleet, any interest?
Yeah, absolutely. He goes into 28 minutes, so absolutely.
Okay. Moving on to the shooting guard here. Victor Oladipo returned, played 29 minutes against Philly. Probably going to see a lot of JJ Redick. I don't know what to do.
It's tough, man. It's tough because, like you say, he just came back. So he's now this is now his second game in from the injury, and he looked pretty good.
Oh, he looked real good.
Yeah, he looked like he didn't miss a beat, and so I was like, whoa, that's kind of impressive. So I don't mind taking the shot in tournaments for him. I can't play him in any other format right now. But, I mean, I think for tournaments, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It actually, for me, has a lot to do with whether or not Jimmy Butler's active. If Butler is active, I don't have interest in either one of them because they're probably going to see a lot of each other. If Butler's out, then Oladipo automatically just skyrockets to the top. At least for tournaments, if you're going to try to play somebody in that the upper echelon as far as at the position for cash, I don't think I'd go any higher than Bradley Beal. And even then, that's kind of stretching it a little bit on today's slate. But, I do like Bradley Beal for tournaments as well. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the Knicks backcourt being banged up and everything. We'll talk about another one, or let's just talk about both of them. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Hardaway's obviously going to get the start. He'll play some of the three now with Dotson out. Courtney Lee's probably going to be inserted into that starting lineup. He's going to play a ton of minutes. I think he's min price. I'm trying to find him here.
Who are you looking for?
Okay, Courtney Lee is 3,100 on DK,
Yeah.
and he is 3,600 on Fanduel.
Surprised he's 36. I don't know why he's not 35, but okay.
Because I don't know. So, I don't know. But with everybody kind of banged up, I really do like both sides of this game from the shooting guard position. I can only play two.
Yeah.
But Hardaway, Courtney Lee, Jeremy Lamb, I think they're all in play today.
Sure. Yeah. I don't hate it. By the way, we do have a questionable Dwayne Wade. It looks like
Tyler Johnson's not questionable now with a hip too.
well, he's probable.
Oh, I just got the questionable tag.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought I read earlier that they upgraded him, but so there's something there to look at. That will open up some value there. But I mean, so you brought up Tim Hardaway. Hardaway's price dropped, man. He's 6,900, and if I remember correctly, he just had a pretty good game.
Yeah, that price drop was. I don't want to say pretty good, but it was decent. He hasn't broke 40 in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Since it looks like before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But the minutes are still there.
The minutes are definitely there, yeah.
I mean,
I think a lot of it is, like we've been talking about, they've just got a lot of guards there now. And so, he can still put up 25 real points, not fantasy, but they don't need him to do more than that because they have other scorers now. But that might change, right? Because of the Burke, because of Trier, because of these guys that are now out, Dotson, he might be relied on a little bit more to score. So, and his price down. So, I think the emergence of Knox, obviously Moutier loves to shoot the ball. And so, you've got some more of that there, but I think this might be a good spot for Hardaway. I'm not scared of Jeremy Lamb's defense. Now, if you tell me, well, Nick Batum's going to be on him, well, I might be a little more concerned, but
I think he could be.
It's possible, yeah, it's possible.
At least to start out.
I've got to see what the starters look like now, but he may end up even matching up with Knox for all I know. We just got to see. But so I kind of like that price. And then I talked about it earlier. I talked about taking a shot on D'Angelo Russell. I just, again, if you're gonna play Dinwiddie, then don't play Russell. But I think I'd rather play Russell here than Dinwiddie, because I think given his recent contract extension, given his recent, career high game, I think you'll see a little more ownership on Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
And I think Russell will kind of go like, oh yeah, he's not doing much now, and then he pulls up 55, So I kind of like that in tournaments there. You talked about Beal, a fantastic spot for Beal. He's not, nearly as expensive as he was before either. He's at 8,500, very much doable. A guy that I think can win you a tournament tonight is Klay Thompson.
Yeah, we were just about to talk about Klay.
I think one of the stats you brought up is the Sacramento Kings are one of the worst in terms of allowing the opposing teams to shoot 3-pointers. I mean, that bodes really well for Klay and Steph, man.
One of the best this year.
Oh, one of the best.
Yeah, they're top 7, but they just did get lit up for almost 41% their last game.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
and then Sacramento at home is actually worse than on the road. And this game is in Sac, right?
It is.
Okay, yeah. So, it's a 35% clip.
See, I just see this game as just a run and gun shootout.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be points galore.
So I like the other side of that too when Buddy Hield.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Love
me. So, Chris Middleton. Any interest?
Yeah, I mean, I always have interest in people playing Cleveland. Just call it what it is. And I say that because they're not like the Phoenix Suns to where they're losing by 1,000. It's more like people go off against them and they keep the game close somehow. Now, I think some of that goes away with them missing Tristan Thompson for, a few weeks, which really hurts them because he was playing really well for them this year. So I think that might hurt them a little bit. But am I scared of a blowout? Not really. There's a lot of guys here, that I like. Obviously Middleton's one of them. You mentioned Bledsoe, obviously Giannis. You can even look at Brook Lopez, and there's a lot to like here on both sides, and even on the other side, I like Nance in this game. I don't know if I can play all of them, and I don't necessarily want to stack this game per se. But if I'm not playing Giannis, I'll definitely play some Middleton for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these ancillary pieces for the Bucks kind of come down a little bit, so I don't mind him in tournaments either. It's just it's hard to kind of trust him a little bit in cash just because it could be any one of the three or two of the three.
Exactly.
And it's never really easy to tell if it's going to be Middleton or Bledsoe as the secondary to
or Brogdon even
or Brogdon.
I mean, and it's not. It's crazy because it's not even like DVP based. It just happens.
Yep.
Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely. Dennis Schroeder, I'm kind of off tonight. I know the pace, I know the minutes, I know everything. I think this is a Russ and George game.
Yeah.
And that doesn't leave a lot for Dennis. Now he can get hot and it could flip the other way around real quick.
It could, yeah.
But I just don't. The way I'm seeing it is I'm not seeing it that way right now.
Yeah, makes sense.
Alec Burks.
This might be my favorite tournament play.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that and hoping that you would say it too.
I mean, so first of all, we have a resident Bucks expert, and so, oh crap. Kyle Lowry listed questionable. That's always fun. We have a resident Bucks expert, and he's been telling us every single game or slate that the Bucks are on that the shooting guards just murder these guys. And in fact, they just recently played, and Burks actually didn't do very well, which was kind of uncharacteristic of him. But listen, he's at $5,100. He's gonna play high 20s, maybe even into the 30s. Versus a Bucks team that's been very vulnerable at the shooting guard spot. I mean, I love it, and if you're going to run it back with like a Middleton or a Bledsoe or a Brogdon or a Giannis, I think it's great.
Yep. I would agree with that. Marcus Smart, obviously, I have a little bit of interest right now. It's going to depend on whether or not Jaylen Brown's playing or not. If Brown is out, then I'm going to load me up on some more Marcus Smart.
Marcus.
Okay, so we just heard that Kyle Lowry is probably questionable. If we get word that Lowry and Kawhi are both out, obviously a lot of people are going to flock to Van Vliet.
Not me.
I know, sir. But I do like me some Danny Green here.
Yeah. I mean, so you got Danny Green. If those two guys are out, I'm gonna look at some DeLon Wright. That's why I really like.
Yes.
And the thing about DeLon is, I know he's an LA guy, but I think he has some ties to Lillard. And I look at those things, man, because those things mean a lot to me in these games, because, you know, just another game for some players, okay, those show up and do their job, but for games that have certain like emotional ties, they get up for those games. So I'll look into that, and I'll let our VIPs know, you know, kind of what it is I find. But yeah, if those two guys both sit, I think DeLon at minimum price is just a shoe-in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can pair him up with Courtney Lee and just absolutely completely punt the position, because one of them's going to have a good game. So, all right, small forwards. Giannis, obviously, Cleveland, yes, he's in play. I don't think you need to go there in cash, but you can. It's just more of a pricing thing. $12,000 on Fanduel, and he is $11K on DK. So don't have to worry about that. Kevin Durant against Sacramento. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, if he plays, he's a decent play. Paul George, obviously, we've talked about. We don't need to touch on a lot of these guys. Obviously, they're all in play. They're, 98% of the time matchup proof.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Josh Richardson. We just got word that Dwayne Wade is questionable. Actually, we've had that for a while, but we just got word that Tyler Johnson's now questionable. This game kicks off about an hour into the slate. So we may or may not know the status of these guys before. If these guys are announced out before lock, Josh Richardson's extremely too cheap.
Yeah, way too cheap.
So,
and I think a lot of people are going to see the matchup with Memphis and kind of shy away. But you got a guy that's going to have the ball in his hands. So, Dragic is also out, correct?
Yeah, I just last time I checked.
So, I mean, it's going to be Josh Richardson and Justice Winslow here. I mean, that's pretty much who's going to run the show. So, I think Hassan Whiteside's also probable. I'm not mistaken.
Hassan Whiteside joined the team last night after the birth of his kid. So,
is his stomach feeling better?
I hope.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not with this stomach virus that's going around. But you never know. But yeah, I think Josh Richardson's too cheap, especially if he becomes the de facto point guard. Gordon Hayward, guys. Let's put it this way: the Boston Celtics are all in play. They all have good matchups. Do not go crazy with them. Do not go crazy with the multiples, like 3-4 of them in your lineup. It's not how it works. You can go like a Kyrie and a Hayward, or a Kyrie and a Smart, or a Marcus Morris, or you mix them up. Max it at 2, please. Just don't. And then make sure you're bringing it back with somebody from the Hawks if you're in a tournament. You don't have to do that in cash, but in tournaments you should. Juancho Hernan-Gomez, 5,700. Now, the reason I'm a little skeptical here.
Okay.
Because Gary Harris was in, if I remember correctly, Gary Harris played in this game the last time that they played.
I got to share this with you.
Go ahead.
I got to share this with you. So they were just interviewing Steven Adams about ahead of tonight's game with Jokic.
Is it the Jokic thing?
And so the guy says to him, "Yeah, what did you think about Nikola?" He's like, "Who?" He's like, "Oh, Jokic. Is Nikola really his real first name?" He had no idea.
Yeah, dude, the guy, and he might not have, but the guy's so good at trolling and not giving away whether or not he's doing it. It's hilarious. So
That was pretty funny.
okay,
So Hernan Gomez. I don't know, man. They've obviously priced him up. I mean, you got a guy he's been playing pretty well, but he's kind of priced at his ceiling, I think, and you're going to have him probably see a significant amount of Paul George. I just don't know that I could play him.
yeah, that's where I kind of agree with you a lot on that. So, anybody else down here at the bottom?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah, love me some Justice Winslow.
Now, is this barring the news or no matter what?
I mean, yes and no, right? So the news obviously helps him out, but like I've been watching the Heat the last 5-6 games, and you could just see him starting to kind of like announce his arrival this season. Like he did that last year, where he was like, "Where the hell's Winslow?" He was horrible. I think he went down to like minimum price. Like he's just not aggressive at all. He's just not looking to score. He wasn't doing anything. And then he came all of a sudden. He's just like, wow, where did this guy come from? He's kind of doing that again. And it's unfortunate that his name is spelled with 2 S's. But besides that, I think it's a fantastic play. It's Justice. Both have an S.
Yes, Justice Winslow.
Both have an S. What the hell are you doing? But besides that, I mean, he's been super aggressive. He's been hitting his threes. He's always defended at a high level. Obviously, people are going to look at Memphis and say, "Oh, that's not a very good matchup," and you know what? It might not be, but if you're going to have,
actually, it's a great matchup.
No, it is.
Kyle Anderson is not good at defense, but the pace is less to be desired.
If it's indeed those two that end up getting matched up, that's what we'll look at a little bit deeper later on. But because I don't know if those two will get matched up per se, because I don't think Winslow will actually start, but he'll still get his 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll see how it goes. And then the last kind of like sneaky play way down here that I'm interested in is going to be, I've got 2 of them. Joe Harris versus Washington, because I love playing guys versus Washington, and he's finally back into, I mean, he's been back for a few games, but you can kind of see he's back, being aggressive again. And then I kind of like Evan Turner tonight. We're going to have to see who sits, who plays, but I think in a situation where, Kawhi in particular, and then Lowry sit, then I'm going to play some Turner. I think he's going to see a significant amount of minutes. These guys go small anyways, these guys being Toronto. And, they're down Valanciunas now, so they kind of have to go small, although we'll talk about the center that's been a topic of conversation when we get to centers. But yeah, I mean, I think those 2 guys in the 4K range are who I'm eyeing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything really to rebut on that. I'm gonna have to look them up a little bit. Okay. Let's go to power forward here. John Collins versus Jason Tatum in the Boston Celtics. I'm out.
Okay.
I fold.
Okay.
What's a good analogy for, when you fold and you don't want to make any question about whether or not you did it? You do it emphatically.
You just fold. Move on.
Well, it's like it's out like I'm out like a fat kid playing dodgeball or something like that. I don't know. There's a fold analogy that goes along in there. My poker guys would know. I don't play poker that often anymore. Draymond Green, top of the night at the position for me.
Yeah, I think Draymond's going to have his hands full, and that's what you want from Draymond. You want his hands full.
And you want him motivated, and you want him talking gas, and you want him active. And guess what? We get him, and he's underpriced. He's 68 on both sites, and I'm sorry, in this type of game, this type of atmosphere,
this is where you want Draymond, guys.
Yeah, this is just too cheap, and I hope he goes. I hope he goes under owned. I don't think he will. but I hope he goes under owned. So,
yeah, I don't think he will. I mean, we can hope so, but
here's the reason why I think that he will. You got Pascal Siakam and Serge Ibaka priced right there.
Sure.
So, I mean, Serge is cheaper on DK, and Siakam is cheaper than both of them on DK. So, that's the reason why I'm sitting there going, he might go overlooked tonight.
It's possible. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. I was thinking the same. I was thinking if Kawhi sits, everybody rushes to those two guys because they've been putting up really good numbers.
Yeah, I don't even think it matters about Kawhi because of Valanciunas now. I think people are just going to try to plug and play him.
It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, we'll talk about that situation here in just a moment. Jaren Jackson Jr. versus Miami. I think I'm kind of out tonight. I love the kid. I love the talent. I love the activity.
Yeah.
I think I'm out tonight going against James Johnson, Bam Adebayo, just, probably some Justice Winslow, or not Justice Winslow, Derek Jones Jr. I mean, then again, it depends on who Miami decides that they want to play tonight. They're on a 4. They're working their way back to the East Coast, but this is 4 out of I think the last 5 games now. It was a 5-game road trip, so they could end up just punting this game and sitting everybody, and then that would make the matchup a lot better. But it depends on the situation. So
it's definitely going to be tough, man. I think it's a scenario where I think he was he was almost like 7,800 at some point this year. So, I mean, the main issue here, there's a few issues. Issue number one is not so much the matchup. Number one is he's got JaMychal Green now kind of staring down his throat, like, I'm ready to come back, to my role kind of thing. Coupled with the guy can't keep his hands to himself. It's a bit of a risk. I mean, I'm not so fond of it, and so yeah. I mean, the good news is he's probably going to be like 0%. So that has a little bit of interest for me, but outside of that, I mean, I probably would rather just go play Bagley instead.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
So,
Domantas Sabonis is same price as Bagley. His minutes are there. He's looked a little off. We know the upside.
Yeah.
The matchup's good.
Yeah.
Any interest?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some, of course. I mean, he's always, able to do a lot of damage. The issue I have is now that they're fully healthy, can we get enough out of him? And that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know. You've got Thad, you've got Miles Turner, who's playing really well, by the way. You've got, and I have also seen that they're doing a lot of combination of Miles and Sabonis on the court together. They're doing it a lot more than they did in years past. And I kind of think it takes away from its upside a little bit, and that's why you're seeing this guy was like 8K at some point, and he's down to like 6,300. I think it's for a reason. So, yeah, I'm kind of like on the fence a little bit.
I'm pulling up the rotation against the Bucks here. They had Sabonis. So, yeah, they'll run Sabonis and Turner on the court at the same time. They'll run Turner and Young on the court at the same time. And they'll run Sabonis and Young on the court at the same time. Never are all three of them on the court at the same time. But, I think a lot of the minutes, the minutes are always are there.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, except the last game. Like, the last game he went down to 24 after playing well, I mean, since he's come back from injury.
Yeah.
He's been 24, 17, 24. Okay, yeah, maybe.
It's tough to pinpoint, man.
Because they were all getting minutes at the beginning of the season, and Sabonis was crushing.
Yeah.
But, because Bogdanovich has basically taken that role away from Tyreek. So the guy that's getting hurt on minutes here is basically Tyreek. And because McDermott's had an increased role this season.
Sure.
So, I don't know. It's hard to kind of pinpoint, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe it's something that we do need to stay away from. Oh, man. Okay, Kevin Knox, are you playing him or no?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Versus Charlotte, for sure. I mean, he's going into the starting role. The guy he's playing well. I mean, he's playing well. Like I say, he's getting his opportunity. He's taking full advantage of it. And why wouldn't you play a guy in that situation?
Because he just went 47 the last time and is going to be chalky because he's still cheap. And
so you're telling me that Ibaka and Siakam are going to be so popular and Draymond's not going to be touched, but Knox is?
Well, Knox is going to be... I think Knox is going to be the highest owned power forward on the slate. Because he's the cheapest of all of them.
Yeah.
But I still think that people are going to play. I still think that Siakam and Serge are going to be higher owned, and that's going to leave Draymond out. For me...
I can see that.
With Siakam and Serge and Draymond up at the top, I can realistically fade Kevin Knox and not worry. And if he does, because you've got the game log watchers too.
Sure.
He just put up 47 and 41 minutes against these guys, 2 games ago.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why. In cash, I think you can just play Kevin Knox and go off. But I think he's worth the discussion and worth the thought of fading due to ownership tonight in tournament. So, I mean, he's 4,800 on DK. Noah Vonleh's more expensive than him on DK.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
Good job, DraftKings. Way to screw that one up. So, yeah, you're telling me that he's going to be one of the highest owned guys on the slate? Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of the way my brain thinks. So,
yeah, I hear you.
Other than that, I mean, Jeremy Grant maybe. I'm not really feeling it tonight. He's going to be matched up on Nikola Jokic a lot. Noah Vonleh, it's a good matchup we talked about, but, it's just kind of not my thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Are they playing Vonleh and... No, they're not playing. They're not taking Canner off the court and playing Vonleh at the 5. There's no way. Are you chasing Thad Young?
No.
Okay. Yeah, his price kind of went up. So, all right, let's talk about the centers here. Joel Embiid. It was kind of easy to predict. We predicted it. He was kind of chalky, and he went off.
Kind of. He was beyond kind of. The guy was out of control.
Yep. Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of so here's the thing about Jokic, man. They continue to lose players, and Jokic's usage continues to rise. I mean, you're talking about a guy that a lot of this offense, kind of runs through him, which is not something you hear often about a center, particularly a laboring center. But it's the reality. And so I think it's a situation where he's priced up at over 10K. In not the greatest of matchup versus Steven Adams, who pretends not to know his first name. I think you could do better at that price. I mean, there aren't only guys at that price, but in other spots. Like I almost would rather play Miles Turner for, 2,500 less.
What if I were to tell you that he's broke 70 twice against Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I believe it for sure. Like I said, the whole offense runs through him. No question. But at the same time, so they're at home. Okay, that's a little bit different. I like it a little bit more now. But still, I mean, I don't. There are a lot of positions tonight that I want to pay up for, and so I just have to decide if I want to kind of sacrifice some of that to pay up here or not, because I like a lot of these guards a lot more.
Yeah, I think he's firmly in play for tournaments. It's not like you said; he's over 10K. He's not the greatest matchup. You can find other guys for cheaper. It's not a bad option to kind of pay up to be a contrarian in tournaments. There's a situation that we're going to be talking about here in just a moment with another guy that we're going to have to address from the same game, but he's got the ability to go for 70. He's got the ability to be the highest scorer on the slate. And you can't just discredit that guy just because of the fact that, he's got a tough matchup, because he has now, if he had never broken 50 or 55, then we're having a different conversation. But the fact that he has at times, against Steven Adams, produced ceiling type games, then I think that he is a question. Now, what you do have to take into consideration with those ceiling games is they had Gary Harris, they had Wilson Chandler, they had Will Barton. They probably had Paul Millsap. So the spacing on the floor was a lot different.
Sure.
The Thunder are probably not going to allow Nikola Jokic to single-handedly beat them tonight. They're just not. Which is why I think this other guy comes into play a little bit more. Mason Plumlee's 5,600. Okay? Right now, he is absolutely popping off of my model. Okay?
Who is?
Mason Plumlee.
Yeah.
I honestly think that Nikola Jokic is going to be paired up more when both him and Plumlee are on the court with Jeremy Grant or Paul George or Patrick Patterson. Because I think that because they're going to want to keep Adams in the paint, and Jokic can pull him out to the three-point line. So I think Plumlee is going to be this is if they go both of these guys on the court at the same time, which they have shown to do against the Thunder before. That's where Adams is going to be on Plumlee a lot. Or Plumlee's going to be on, they're going to use Plumlee and his big body to body up Adams to try to free up Jokic. Which is why I think Jokic could be the play at the center position over an Embiid or somebody.
Well, we're going to have to see. I don't know that starting Jokic and Plumlee is something that we're going to see again.
Oh, no, I don't think they start
tonight.
But I think the rotation works its way around without Millsap now. I think the rotation works its way around to at times they're both going to be on the court at the same time.
Yeah, they're going to see some time together, sure. But I think the Thunder will counter with Noel. But Noel and Adams together. But last game was a different. It was a matchup. They were playing Memphis, who had a lot of size, and they started both of them. I think here you're going to see people go back to Lyles go back into the starting lineup. so it'll be more of Lyles and Grant kind of thing. But as far as like playing Plumlee goes, which I know is not what we're talking about, at his elevated price, I don't know if I can play him, particularly because I know he's going back to the bench role, and I don't know if I can do that.
I still think he plays 30 minutes or close
You think
to.
So?
Yeah, because unless they get Steven Adams in foul trouble, or there's something drastic that's going to happen in order for them to not have Plumlee play a lot.
Because if he plays 30, then what? Lyles goes back to his 18 minutes?
I was going to say 20-ish.
Yeah, because he takes the biggest hit there.
So, but I mean, you could. These three bigs are gonna play a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think Plumlee sees the 35, but I think he sees 28. Lyles sees probably 24.
Yeah.
And then, if foul trouble ends up creeping in on one of these guys, because
That's
Jokic
different.
has shown, that's going to change the whole thing.
Yeah, that's different. That I get.
So, but yeah, even going back to the bench, I still think that, he is going to play a lot because of the size of Steven Adams. So, all right, Hassan Whiteside, are you yay, nay?
No, I can't, man. I can't.
I can't either.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I do have some interest in tournaments for Marc Gasol against Whiteside.
Same here.
Okay, let's talk about this Portland-Toronto game. Then we'll kind of touch on one other guy real quick, and then we'll get out. Yusef Nurkic, I think, is in play. Joe Val popped something out of socket. It sounded gross, and I didn't see which finger it was. But he's in a cast, so he's out at least 4 weeks.
He had a surgery on it.
Yeah, he's probably 6 weeks out, and it doesn't really matter. But Greg Monroe could see a lot of time against Yusef Nurkic.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Monroe, we've seen at times when he gets minutes in his career, is a fantasy points per minute monster.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Monroe is min price.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Monroe right now is slated for 15 minutes according to my model.
Yeah. Well, obviously 15 minutes won't cut it, but I think it's going to be a little. At min price? I think it's going to be a little bit more.
Well, I mean, that's what I've got him at. I think he sees 18 to 20.
Yeah. I'm thinking closer to 20.
And if some of these other guys are out, and they decide that they want to try to slow the game up and go a little bit bigger, I mean, the dude's a min-price center.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do, man, is to play min-price centers when they're in the situation.
Tell people why.
So, the thing about centers is they kind of, I mean, there obviously are some like elite exceptions, but centers pretty much do the same things across the league. They get rebounds, they play down low, they block shots. They're there to protect the paint. If I'm paying $11,000 for Joel Embiid, I'm getting all those things, and I'm getting like 3-point upside, and I'm getting like, a lot more scoring, and I'm getting usage, sure. But the core of what a center does, like you're getting a 1.2 on Fanduel for every one of those rebounds. You're getting 3 points for every shot block. You're getting things that guards, for example, they're not getting rebounds and blocking shots. They have to score and assist and play make and run the court to get their points. So, and they actually have to be able to shoot. The other night, when I think it may have been Sabonis who was out, and I saw Kylo Quinn's going to get minutes, I plugged him in. like everywhere. He was min-price. He got like almost 40 because that's what Kyle Quinn does when he gets minutes, and especially a team that didn't want him. But different topic. But those bigs, especially guys like Monroe, who are fantasy point per minute monsters, which O'Quinn is also one of those. Why wouldn't you? And then I'm not playing him as a drop scorer. I'm playing him as a value. And then I can go get a secondary drop scorer, or technically a first, right? But another drop scorer that might get some minutes. Then those two guys can compete for who's going to drop, and then go get some studs elsewhere. Because if I know that I'm getting even 18, which I think is on the low end, but even if I'm getting 18 minutes from Greg Monroe versus a team that really struggles with opposing big men, I'm going to do that. 10 out of 10 times I'm going to do that. Now, the issue with that, on DraftKings, it's a little bit easier. On Fanduel, it's a little bit more tough because that's the only center I get. So, I don't get to play Jokic. I don't get to play Embiid. I don't get to play Nurkic. I don't get to play Plumlee. I don't get to play these other guys. But I don't care. I'm getting a min-price guy that has the ability to hit 10x. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep. I would agree. So the center position is loaded tonight, in my opinion, from all the way up from the top to the bottom. Down at the bottom, you've got guys like Greg Monroe. You've got Mitchell Robinson, who's going to see close to 20 minutes. Thomas Bryant's going to see close to 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. You could talk about Aaron Baines. You could talk about Robert Williams III. I mean, you could talk about a lot of these guys that are going to see 18 to 21 minutes. But Greg Monroe, make no mistake about it, he's the cheapest, and he's probably got the most upside out of all of them.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing we didn't talk about really yet, I might have a little interest here in Cantor. And I do have a lot more interest in Jared Allen. Those are the two guys that I'm looking at. But outside of that, no.
Cool. All righty, guys. That's going to do it for us today. So, Bear, I want to tell you thank you so much again for joining me and allowing me to not talk to myself today. Probably far more entertaining, even though it's longer, far more entertaining than listening to me ramble on for about 35 minutes.
For sure, man. Glad to be back.
All right, guys. For the DFS Army, for Bear, for myself, we gone.